Hello, my amazing students. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. And tonight we are here with lesson 72, and we're talking about negative numbers, absolute value, and adding signed numbers. So, back in lesson 8, your book introduced a number ray because up until that time we had only talked about positive numbers. And so the number ray started at 0, and then went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on to infinity and beyond, like Buzz Lightyear. But they were all positive numbers. So what we're talking about today is the bigger picture, because we know that the number ray is only part of the number line. So we're going to introduce the number line today. And just like we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the right, we also go -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay? Now, we use negative numbers a lot. And especially in applications where you can go negative, like going into debt, right? So suppose your mother gave you a $5 allowance. So you have a $5 allowance, and that's in your bank. So that's money you have. So we would call that a positive $5, okay? But suppose you saw a new game that you really, really wanted to play, and you saw it on sale. And so you said, Mommy, 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 the game that I really, really want is $8. Would you please buy me the game? And Mom says, well, I will not give you the money, because your mother is very smart. She's trying to teach you the value of money. But I will let you give me your $5 and owe me the rest. Okay? So if you were going to subtract the $8 from the $5 that you already have, you would basically be splitting the $8 into the $5 that you already have and the $3 that you're going to owe your mother after the transaction. Negative numbers talk to us about debt. How much do I owe my mom? I owe my mom $3, because $5 that you have minus $8 that you need is going to wind up -$3, or $3 in the hole. Okay, so now we're going to practice showing this. I'll put the dollar sign. It looks a little funny having -$3 there, doesn't it? But let's do this problem on our number line. So we have positive $5. So $5, we just start at 5, or we could start at 0 and take 5 steps to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have $5. I feel rich, right? $5 is a lot of money. And then I've got to give Mom $8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I not only gave back Mom the $5 that I had, there goes my allowance, but I also promised Mom that as soon as I got more money, I would give her $3. I hope that game is one I really, really want, because I've got to pay back that $3 before I get any money again. Okay, so if I do some chores and I earn some money, the first thing I have to do is pay back my mom for $3. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this number line, and we're also going to be talking about signed numbers. So signed numbers are any numbers that have plus or minus signs attached to them. So we're going to learn how to add and subtract signed numbers on our number line. Okay, so we're going to talk, this is kind of an intro section. We're going to talk a little bit about signed numbers. Now, one of the most important things about signed numbers is that when we're talking about positive numbers, we don't always have to put a sign on them. If we see 13, we understand that to be positive 13. But if we really mean negative 13 and not positive 13, we must always put a negative sign in front of a negative number. So that would mean I'm $13 in debt to my mom, and that would be bad. Okay, so negative is always going to have a sign. And positive, you can put a sign if you want to, but you don't have to, because we always assume that they are positive if we don't see a sign at all. Okay, so now, absolute value is the distance of a number from zero. Of a number from zero. Okay, now the absolute value is always positive. And that makes sense because it's a distance. Now, if I have my job is 2 miles from home. Here's home, here's job. Okay, now when I jump in the car at home and I drive to my job, I go 2 miles. When I jump in the car at the job and I drive home, I go 2 miles. I don't say that I'm going 2 miles to work and negative 2 miles back. I'm burning $2 worth, 2 gallons worth of gas or 2 miles worth of gas every time I go. All right, so the distance is positive. We don't think of the negative distance here. We just go to and from, and the distance is still 2 miles. So when we're looking at the number line and we're saying, okay, what is the absolute value? And that's what those little lines there mean, absolute value. What is the absolute value of 4? Well, if you look on the number line, let's draw a little number line here. We have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and the distance from 0, because remember, the absolute value is the distance of a number from 0. So here's 0, and here's 4. How many steps? 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. So the absolute value is the distance of 4 from 0 is 4 steps. Okay, well, what is the absolute value of a negative 4? Well, here's 0, and negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Here's negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 steps apart again. So the absolute value of negative 4 is also 4. It doesn't matter which direction I'm going in. It just matters the distance from 0. So the absolute value of 4 is 4. And the absolute value of negative 4 is also 4. All right, so now we're going to play on the number line and talk about the addition of signed numbers. So here we have an example. What is a positive 2 plus a negative 3? Okay, so your book is using a line that's going off to the right to talk about the positive 2 and a line that's going to the left to talk about the negative 3. So we're going to do it that way, and that's a perfectly fine way. So we would start at 0, and we would go 2 steps to the right, and 2 steps to the right would be the positive 2. Okay, and then from that point, I'll make a little dotted line up because we're going to stay right at that point. We're going to make 3 steps to the left. So 1, 2, 3. And we wind up at -1. So 2 plus a -3 is a -1. Okay? Now that's perfectly fine. I just don't draw lines very well. So I like little inchworm humps. Okay, so basically I would start and I would not draw lines because I don't draw lines very well, but I like humps. Okay, so I would draw +2. So I'd start at 0 and I'd go 1, 2. They're fun. And then I'd go -3. So sometimes it's fun to either make the other hump above or even go below. But I'm going to go above and go backwards. So I'm starting here because that's where I ended. And so now I'm going 3 back. So 1, 2, 3. And guess what? I'm at -1 again. So whether you use lines or whether you like to use the little humps like I do, that's all there is to it. Is we're just going to the right and to the left to model the problem that we have. So in a second example, we're going to start with a -3. So we start at 0 and we're going to go 3 jumps backwards. So 1, 2, 3. And I stop there, so the next time I do anything, I have to start right there. And then this one is another -1. So now we're going negative again. So from right here, we'll go -1 more step, and we're at -4. So -3 plus -1 is -4. And we're going to talk about some rules a little bit later on to help you do these without having to do them on the number line. But right now, we're just playing on the number line. Well, there was nothing wrong with the problem that I just did, but it wasn't the one that was in your book. So now I'm going to do the one that was in the book. So -3 plus a 1 plus a +1. So here we start at 0 again. 1, 2, 3 in the negative direction. And then I'm going to turn around and go 1 in the positive direction, and I wind up at -2. So the answer is -2. That was the one that was in your book. Okay, so this is our last example, and we have 2 problems on one number line. So +2 plus a +1, that is a positive there. Okay, +2 plus a +1. So we start at 0, our starting point, and we go to +2, and then +1 more 1. So I wind up at 3, and the answer is 3. But really, isn't that just 2 plus 1? 2 plus 1 is 3, isn't it? You already knew that. All right, look down here. So now we're moving in the negative direction twice. So we're going to have, get rid of this one. Okay, so we're going to go -2. So 2 steps backwards. And then -1 again. So from here, we take -1. And we wind up at -3. That was an old circle there. Wind up at -3. So the answer here is -3. And now it is time for us to do our practices. Here are practices A and B. So here we have a +2 plus a -4. So we start at 0. And we take 2 steps in the positive direction. And then we need to take 4 steps in the negative direction from the spot that we just landed at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the answer is -2. Okay, so now down here we have a -2 to start with, and then we're going to add a +4. So let's get rid of all this. Okay, and then we have a -2, so here's our 0. We're going to go -2 this way, and then from that point, which is -2, we're going to add 4 in the positive direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I wind up at +2. Excuse me. these are our last two examples. Okay, so practice problems. So here, I want you to copy these down and pause your video. All right, so let's do the last two. We have 2 steps in the negative direction. So starting at 0, we're going to go 1, 2 steps in the negative direction, and then 3 more steps in the negative direction. 1, 2, 3. We wind up at -5, and that's it. So let's go down here. Now we got 2 plus 3, both of them in the positive direction. So let's get rid of this one. We're going to go 2 steps to the right. And then from there, we're going to go 3 more steps to the right. Oops, I fell off my board, but that number would be 5. So 2 plus 3 is 5, but you already knew that. All right, so this lesson was all about learning about sign numbers, learning that the number line is going on to infinity in both directions, and learning how to play around with the number line a little bit. Next time, we'll come back pretty soon, and we're going to learn the rules that we have to memorize to go with addition and subtraction on the number line. They're not hard, but we need to learn them. And that's all I have for you today. My room's really messy today. Maybe I better just cover it up. Then you can't see it. This is Mrs. A, and may God bless your day.